Hopefully it won't be Zoom bombed or whatever they
Yeah,
call
I
it.
know. Manage participants. Wow, look at that. Already got participants. I'm not gonna let it. Hey, Roy. Looks like we have some participants.
Will be video participants.
It's being recorded, it says. In or out? Coming in or out? Okay, all right. Okay, we're gonna admit Sharon Bush and Ryan T. and Citizen and Ron Wilson and Craig. Let's just admit all. So EDA in there.
Hey, Craig, looks like, see, man, it's Craig George. Yeah, and that's Ryan Thompson too, it looks like. Is that her?
Hello. Looks like we have quite a few people on here. I don't know if I could hear anybody.
Are you able to unmute them or over there, or if they muted themselves? No, they're, wait,
I don't know if I can unmute them or not.
click that unmute and just see on one of them and see if anybody's good. Oh, nothing happened. Hmm.
Hi there. Is anybody on? It looks like most everybody appears to be muted. If anybody can hear me, I'd appreciate it if you'd comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that Sharon?
Yes.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
I would like to try to get everybody logged in here, so that's why I can see people's names, but if, Roy, maybe what you can do is write people's names down. And Sharon, could you give us an email address maybe so that we could make sure we can notify you of anything?
Yes, it's Bush,
Mhm.
SEP, like Sam, Egg, Paul, at gmail.com.
Gmail.com. Gotcha.
Great.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
It looks like we have, is this Ron Wilson?
Yeah, did you just hear me?
Yes, we did, Ron.
Okay, because I didn't realize, but it was muted, so. But
Okay.
it's not now. Hi, Sharon.
Hey.
Yeah. For those that don't know, on Zoom, down in the lower left, you can find your mute button. That you can mute and unmute yourself.
Right, that's exactly where it was.
Okay.
Hey, Sharon.
I'm here as well.
Hey.
Ron, can we get an email address for you, please?
Yeah, it's REW2016 at iCloud.com.
Thank you.
iCloud.
Cloud.com, yeah. So I see that Dawn might be unmuted also.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, how about it?
Hi, Don.
Hey, Ron
Dawn, what is your last name?
Johnson,
Johnson, okay, great. And if you have an email address, that would be great also.
djohnsonrealty@aol.com.
Okay, thank you, Dawn.
You're welcome.
And you don't have to give us an email address if you don't want. It's just that we do want to communicate with you later for anything, or
Right.
if you'd like to communicate with us, we can certainly provide you anything. I see so I'm just going to list off the names we see. Someone logged in as Citizen. We have Craig B. We have David Law. We have EDA Conference 1. I'm seeing you, EDA Conference 1. Jen's iPad, Ryan T, and Seth Wood.
Does it look like Jerry Diedenbach?
Oh, Jerry is there, but he's, okay, we just admitted Jerry. That might be Jerry. Is that Jerry Diedenbach,
I see
maybe?
3 people. I think I see a show people on here.
Okay, Craig.
I think Craig,
Brashear.
Ron, and Jerry are all.
Right.
And hi, I'm Jen. I was going to give you my email.
Okay,
Yes.
Jen, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's jenniferlm72@gmail.com.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm Jay Brown, and this is Roy Tyson. We're with Jay Brown Professional Group, and we're the engineers for this project. I'm going to go ahead and get us started here.
Oh, there's Jerry. You just popped up.
Did Jerry just pop up? Bear with me 1 second.
So now you obviously can't see all of us unless you had a split screen, right?
That's correct. That's correct. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share the screen so that hopefully everybody can see. And I'm going to pull up a little presentation and we'll run through the presentation. We'll talk about the project. Feel free if somebody wants to interrupt, they certainly can. We will obviously have plenty of time for questions afterwards as well, but feel free if you would like to interrupt. It's totally fine. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started.
Okay.
So I
Oh, yeah, that's the agenda.
minimize this over here because
There, right there. Yep.
I've got everybody.
I don't think they're able to see that though, so that's good.
Yep. All right,
Yep.
guys. So we are here this evening to talk about a project called Terra Greens Phase 2. And I'm going to go over a few things with you this evening. Can everybody see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I'll be able to blow it up and reduce it in size as well. But I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of some of the things we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about the project location and make sure everybody's clear on that. We'll go over kind of the zoning and land use for the property. We'll show you our proposed site plan. We'll kind of give you an idea of the type of units that'll be proposed for the project. We'll show you floor plans and kind of a view so you can get a sense of what the type of units are. And then we'll kind of open it up for questions. So let me blow this up a little bit. So this is a location map of the general vicinity. The Strawberry Field subdivision is just to the left of the project, just west. This is 143rd Street and Newberry Road down here. So this would be the Publix and McDonald's. And then the open property back behind is called Jonesville Business Park. That's its formal name. And then right below our yellow property, which is our property of Terra Greens Phase 2, is the Terra Greens Phase 1. And that's a project that has already been permitted and the site work is completed construction. I believe they should be starting some homes out there shortly. So our project is just north of that. It's just west of Arbor Greens. So there's Arbor Greens to the east, Strawberry Fields to the west. There's vacant land, appears to be farmland to the north, and then Terra Greens Phase 1 to the south. So the property at question is 10 acres in size. It is surrounded by residential development completely around it, except for the property to the north, which is zoned residential, but it's not an active residential project. This is some information about the zoning and land use. The property is zoned R2, which is a residential multifamily type of zoning. There will not be a zoning petition for this or a change in zoning. So the property, what's being proposed, conforms to the zoning regulations. Okay, we just admitted somebody else. Might have been somebody from Alachua County. Anyway, we were just talking about the zoning, which is R2. You can see some of the surrounding zoning. A lot of the surrounding zoning is what's called planned development. And that has to do with the Terra Greens Phase 1 project. Jonesville Business Park is a planned development, as is Arbor Greens. So that's a specially designated zoning category that's site specific for certain uses and design associated with those larger scale developments. And then you have single family residential to the north and to the west. From the land use side of things, the property is zoned medium density residential, which allows up to 8 units per acre. So R2 is a zoning category conforming to the medium density residential land use. You can see there is low density residential to the north, there is medium density residential to the west and east, and there's actually office business park in the property to the south in the Jonesville Business Park. The property due south in Terra Greens Phase 1 is medium high residential. So this basically just shows that the property is zoned to accommodate up to 8 units per acre. So this is a blow up of our site plan. This is a conceptual site plan at this point. We obviously have not gone through the development review process yet. That's why we're having this neighborhood workshop, to let all the surrounding property owners kind of have an idea of what we're proposing to do. So I mentioned to you that the property was 10 acres in size and that the allowable zoning density was 8 units per acre. And that's what's being proposed here, is 80 residential townhome units. So in Alachua County, there is a criteria for providing, setting aside 10% of the property as open space. And the criteria calls for that open space to be located on the perimeter of the property and to be contiguous. So we've set aside the eastern property, this eastern property over here, which is heavily forested, to remain as open space. And that area is adjacent to some other open space to the south in Terra Green Phase 1. So in coordinating with Alachua County, this was the preferred location for open space on the property. To the south, there are residential units along this property line, very similar to these, and there's a retention basin in Terra Greens Phase 1 right here. So our property, our project will connect to the existing roadway from Terra Greens Phase 1 that was stubbed to the north to accommodate future development. And then we will build roadways to the north also to accommodate future development for any project to the north. And then we'll have a roadway running down the property in an east-west direction, and then another residential roadway that'll stub to the north as well. Now our townhome units will front this roadway here and the roadway over here. Currently, we don't have any residential units fronting this north-south roadway. And then north of our residential units on the north side of the property is proposed stormwater management basins. And there would be water quality treatment basins that would discharge into the larger basin. This is a natural low area on the property, so that's why this is chosen. If you can maybe kind of see under the aerial photo here a little bit of topography that shows on this map. This is the lowest point on the property. There also is another isolated low in this location, which is kind of adjacent to a stormwater basin over here in the Strawberry Fields development, which is why they have their stormwater basin there. We might also have stormwater in this location as well. So there is 10 8-unit buildings. Each one of those units is an individual townhome. So they're 20-foot by 100-foot lots. The these are attached units. And so the building pad is approximately 20 by 60. So it's 80 residential units. You've got stormwater, all the infrastructure is available, water, sewer, electric, all those type of facilities that have to be brought in. The roads, along with all the utility infrastructure to service these townhome units. I think I've covered most of the issues associated with this.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
Well, just to the west there, the Phase 1 that has been built already, there was supposed to be an easement, we were told, and they took down a bunch of trees. And it's too late now, but on your phase that you're wanting to do, are they going to leave the easement over that butts up to Strawberry Fields?
There is an easement in this location right here. So where Terra Greens Phase 1 is down here, the design of that project, there's a road here that goes into Strawberry Fields. Unfortunately, I don't show that. We could pull up a map image or something and look at that, but there is a road. This road right here goes down. It ties into Arbor Greens over here. It comes in,
Right.
and then it continues to service Terra Greens Phase 1, and it ties into the cul-de-sac at
Strawberry Field. Yep. Mhm.
Right.
There's a retention basin right here, and there's a little easement with a accessible path. And
Right.
actually
Yep.
it's emergency access where you can go through right here. So what you see on our drawing right here would be a continuation of that. So in
Yep.
other words, it would provide a secondary emergency access. This would be stabilized. It would stay open. For all practical purposes, it would just be an open pathway, but it would accommodate in an emergency vehicles to drive through from here down to Phase 1 into that roadway system.
Well, now I'm talking a
But-
little farther west of there, though.
A
Yeah.
little farther west than there. I think the only thing west that's there is just a walkway, just pathway. There's no driving.
Well, there's trees there now, for sure, because it comes up to the fence that borders Strawberry Fields.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
we're
and-
just, I'm wondering if those trees are going to remain, or are those going to be cleared, or can we have them kept?
So you're talking about over on this side on our project now.
The farthest west, yeah, the farthest
Yeah.
west that you can go.
So in this plan right here, we have a turnaround right here. So we have some trees located here and here that could probably stay. This area is wooded, as you know. We have
Right.
looked at other options for this project to, consider other configurations of these units. This one right here, because of the length of this small connector road here to serve these two units, there's a little turnaround at the end. So right in this location, it would be very difficult to save trees, but all the rest of the area, we would be able to save trees along there. And there are a couple of nice big oaks up here, and this is very conceptual before we got some of the tree survey out there. So we do have the flexibility to move this basin around and things and try to save some trees over on this perimeter. It's
Yeah,
just
that
right
would
in here, right in
be
here, where
nice.
it's really tight.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah, because there's a lot of houses that butt up to that. So it'd be nice if you could leave as many trees as you could so that the houses don't look, your backyard doesn't now look into the townhomes.
Right, as I recall, and I could, haven't been there super recently, but when I went there a while, I think there was only 2 houses right here that back up to this part of the property. I'm almost positive they're fenced in the backyard. And
There's definitely more than 2.
There's probably about 5.
Yeah.
Once you
Yeah.
get here, though, there's the retention basin beyond those homes. So, I mean, they wouldn't back up directly here, but I think there's only 2 that, here, we can see if that shows up here at all.
There's definitely more than 2 houses.
Yeah.
Let's look at it. We should be able to see it right here on this map. So these 2 right here are what I'm talking about. And then this area is the retention basin. There are 2 other houses here, but the retention basin area is between them and our property. So
Yeah,
these
it is.
these 2 lots right here are the 2 that butt up against, and that's
Right.
where our building is. The rest of it over here is up against the retention basin, and these are the ones that I was referring to that are fenced in the backyard right here.
Yeah. Hmm.
The houses are, up, and they actually have a really nice backyard right here.
Oh, yeah, they
Gotcha.
do.
Yes, they do.
We know them both.
Okay.
Dave, there's a shout out to your yard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Dave's being
listening,
quiet.
trying to.
Oh, he is coming in now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, lot 69, that's my backyard.
Right here.
Yeah, the next one up.
Right
Yep,
next to there. And who is this speaking?
David Law.
David Law, okay,
And Sharon Bush is 70, is right? The one that's
right here,
I'm
Correct.
north of him.
right
Yes,
there, okay, that's Sharon, okay.
yes.
so where's that road? The one road you're talking about, where would it end up being? That's the turnaround road.
It would be right about here,
Oh, that's great.
right about there.
Mm.
And
So
also,
kind of behind lot 70. I would say behind lot 70, but there's a pretty nice big area right there between lot 70 and here.
Yeah, that's her backyard.
So it's my
That's the fact
understanding that we have a
right.
20-foot easement right there that y'all have encroached upon in phase
Oh,
one. And
that's
it looks
right.
like it's gonna encroach on phase two as well.
And what is that? I'm sorry.
We have a 20-foot easement for Strawberry Fields. And phase one encroached on it already, and your sign actually is being put up within our easement. And then the phase two that you're proposing would do the same thing. And that's where the trees were supposed to remain that got taken down.
On the first
Okay.
one, phase one, yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't design phase one, so I'm really not certain about that. But if there's an easement on this property that's on our property, we would certainly abide by all the conditions of that easement. I'm not familiar
Oh,
with
that's
that.
good.
We certainly will look at that. And if there is in fact an easement, here that has some provisions about tree retention or whatever, we would certainly want to know that. So we did do a title search that should have identified any encumbrances or easements or anything on the property. I'm not aware of that, but I will look again and we'll look even closer. And if anybody has anything that documents that, please provide it to us because we want to know anything like that. If there is an easement on this property, we would certainly abide by any conditions.
I do
Okay.
have a plat that I could provide you.
Okay, great.
There's another person asking to get in right now.
Is there? Okay.
Man, everybody's on this line now.
Looks like we've just admitted a couple of other folks, so let me
Okay.
reduce back down and we'll keep going here.
Mhm.
Is
can
everybody?
can I ask a question?
Sure.
It's Sharon. How far from our fence line would the trees, according to your plan, be taken down?
Okay, this distance right here is 25 feet. If you can see that. This is about the midway point of our property right here. And so we have,
Where's our fence line in regards to that map?
unfortunately, it's off of it's off of this line right here. It's just over in this direction. It's adjacent to the property. Just doesn't happen to be on our property, but it's right adjacent to here. On those two southern lots, the properties that are lots 69 and 70, I think it was, they're further back.
So it's designated to be cleared right up to the fence, in other words,
Only in this vicinity right here, yes, it is.
right past the turnaround.
Right. Now, we would provide fencing if there isn't fencing there, so we would certainly, want to make sure that that would be taken care of.
Hmm.
So any car driving down that road, their headlights would shine directly into our back windows, pretty much.
Not if we have fencing there. I mean,
Would you be putting up like a brick fence or like a wood fence?
it would probably be a wood fence. It would be a privacy fence, 6 foot tall, and headlights are about 3.5 feet tall. So I can't imagine that any headlights would go through there.
Mhm.
Mm.
So phase one did not put up their own fence. They are using our fence.
Right. Well, what we would want to do is work with adjacent property owners. I mean, it's difficult to put another fence if there's already one there. Again, I wasn't involved in that, but if that's the case, it's, not super practical to do back-to-back fences. But if that's necessary, and working with these property owners, I mean, we could certainly talk about that. Again,
I think the trees is the biggest thing.
yeah, this is a preliminary layout right here, and we have identified the trees on this property, but we still have some more work to do to identify the trees that are of the best quality and that kind of thing, and making sure which trees, definitively need to be saved. And we plan to walk that with the Alachua County in the near future. Unfortunately, they're not able to do that right now because of the COVID restrictions. So we're waiting for that opportunity to be able to meet with the county and look at the trees on this site, because we know we need to do that. Or we have a landscape architect, Elizabeth Manley, with Manley Landscape Architect, that is working on this project. And she has already been coordinating with the county on that. Unfortunately, we're just on hold for that at the moment. We have identified a couple of nice trees over here that we know we want to save. So this
That's good.
probably be modified a little bit, if not substantially.
But along our fence line is the main concern, not over where your retention pond is.
Right. And of course, I'm not exactly sure who was talking right there, but
That is Sharon,
Sharon, okay.
yes. And
And
that's
you're-
my property right back there.
Right. And just for me to be sure again, Sharon, I'm just going to make sure one more time that we understand this. Whoops.
Yeah, let's get everybody's lot number just so we know everybody that's.
He's lot 70.
You're lot 70?
Sharon, yes.
Oh, Sharon is lot
Yeah.
70.
So Sharon, your fence line is way far away from our property. I mean, that's probably 75 feet maybe, I'm guessing. I'm not 100% sure, but
No. My fence line is the same fence line as David Law. It's one fence that goes along the back of all those houses. And then there's big, beautiful oak trees on the other side of the fence where your property is.
okay.
But those trees, we would like to keep, they're very tall. We would like to try to keep as many of them up and not cleared like the first group did that came through and cleared out all the trees, so that will allow for privacy.
Well, we will certainly work within the framework of the codes and try to do whatever we can there. There are certain landscape code requirements that we have to meet and tree canopy retention requirements. And to the extent that we can, we certainly are going to do that. We have some limitations where that road goes down and dead ends. But beyond that, where we have open area, we're certainly willing, and we would desire also to save the trees. I do want to make certain that you understand, though, that if the fence line goes here and continues north of the Law property, that is homeowners association property.
Right, that's what it does, yeah.
Property lines are, I mean, so if there's not a jog here to your fence line, then that fence line isn't necessarily your property. That's common area for the association.
I'm speaking on behalf of the association.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's fine.
Does everybody agree?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
And I just wanted to make sure we were, it is a little bit different than being in someone's backyard than being in, a stormwater retention pond drainage swale area. So,
So
okay.
you're saying that whole part right there is stormwater area?
Well, I know that there's a stormwater swale here and piping that comes through in the retention basin here. This is
Well,
all
the
part of
fence,
the
yeah,
thing.
but the fence goes right along that blue line that you've got.
Yeah, right, because that is your all's common area. It is. It's definitely
Okay.
your open area right there. Yes, the fence line should be right here.
Right,
Correct.
that's where it is. Okay.
Okay. So I hear you loud and clear about the trees on this area over here.
Oh, good.
So let's try to move on a little bit, and I'm not trying to downplay that because I understand how important it is to you, and we will absolutely do the best we can in those regards. As I mentioned to you, we are looking at a few other options with the layout at the end down here that may help us save a few more trees. So we'll continue to keep that in mind as we're going through that. I just wanted to show you a little bit about the type of units that are being proposed, just to give you an idea. This is an elevation perspective view of the units. They, have front driveways and access with 2-story. This is, just kind of giving you an indication of a little bit of how that might look in the front there, landscaping on the sides and in the front, driveways up front, 2-story.
What's the
So
square
that's the
footage?
same.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ron.
What's the square footage of those?
I think they're running, not 100% certain, but I think probably say 1,300 to 1,700 square feet, I believe.
That
somewhere in
is
that
2
range.
bedrooms the maximum, or is it?
I think 3 bedrooms. I think they're all 3-bedroom units. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the same as the phase 1. It looks to me like it's the same as the phase 1 ones, right?
It is very similar.
Yeah.
It is very similar. Yes. I mean, it's dimensionally the same, whether or not the units are exactly the same. There's
Yeah.
a variation throughout both phases of 5-unit buildings, 6, 7-unit, 8-unit buildings, that kind of thing. So
Okay.
each one, there's slight variations, but in general, this is the look. This is just showing slightly different coloration, but, and I can show you a little bit of, kind of some of the floor plans too, to give you an idea. So this is the entry garage, there's foyer, the downstairs has, family and dining room, and then upstairs you have the 3 bedrooms with, in this particular case, these are 2-bath units, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So 2 bedrooms upstairs, the master bath upstairs. And unfortunately, I don't have the square footage of this unit, but I recall them being in that 1,300, say, to 1,700 square feet range. I don't know if if one of the owners is on board here. If they are, they can feel free to jump in with me, but I wasn't certain if they got onto this call or not.
So where are they from? Where is this builder from? Is he from Florida? Or?
He lives in Gainesville and has been developing here since at least the 90s.
Oh, okay.
Who are you allowed to tell us who it is?
Yeah, his name is Saeed Mukhtar, and that's where the Tara comes from.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The first project that I worked with them on was back in the mid-90s. We did a project called San Velasco Estates.
Oh, okay.
On Upper Road, and they have, everybody kind of slowed down in the mid 2000s anyway, and so now they're kind of gearing back up, and they're 2-generation family that are working on projects. Saeed's daughter Sylvia lives here in Gainesville also, and she's a big part of their operation, as is their son.
Okay.
So it's a family-run business. They're developing a project right now called Tara Estates in near Tioga, and then another project in the city of Alachua right now called Tara Village. So they brand their project with the Tara name, and they're Tara Greens. That's where that comes from.
Oh, I didn't know that. So do we know a price point for these, or am I getting ahead of you?
No, and I'm not 100% certain that they've been set yet. It'll be a year from now before these are coming out of the ground. So from what I have understood by looking at some of the marketing material and some of the similar product in their other projects, it's in the 200,000s. So it is somewhat of an affordable project for new home construction. I think it's appealing to young professionals, retirees, folks that just don't necessarily want to keep up a big yard and that kind of thing. So it is it has been fairly popular. You may have seen the project that's going vertical now that they're doing at the old West End Golf Course right along the frontage of Newberry Road. It's called Tara West End.
Mhm.
They're building some of these type of units in that location.
Yeah, okay.
And so you can see kind of the price point because I think they have some signs up there.
240. Yep.
Yeah, so I think
Starts.
that's probably where it starts.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's all kinds of upgrades you can do and, you know, go from there. So that's kind of what I had today. Certainly can, you know, continue to stay as long as anybody likes and answer any questions.
I do have another question. This is Jen. I'm sorry.
Sure.
So I understand that like with the first phase, you know, people are going to be driving through Strawberry Fields. With this second phase, like, is there eventually going to be like some other kind of road for people to get to 241, like a back way instead of all of that traffic coming through our neighborhood? Do you know?
Well, let's look at this other map and let's talk about connectivity here. So in this map, we can see a little bit. There's a couple of things that are happening. So, whoops. Looks like I blew it up a little too much. Okay. So there's the connectivity to Arbor Greens to the east. There's the connectivity that you just mentioned through Strawberry Fields to the west. We're stubbing roads to the north. And the idea is that in the long term, when some of this develops, there'll be another connection that's pseudo planned for to come out here towards 143rd Street. It just appears by some of the property rights and things that are happening there.
Okay.
And then also there's a project, this planned development, the Jonesville Business Park, which has been recently rezoned. It hasn't been renamed yet, but it's becoming less of a business park and a little bit more residential in character for the planning of this property in the future. And it has a roadway connection here. So Terra Greens Phase 1 has already built the connection to this property, which has been coordinated with the design of this project, which will have a connection here as well. So,
Okay, I saw that.
And it has two connections to 143rd Street. So I think ultimately it would probably be just as desirable to go this way, to go to 143rd Street in the future.
Yes.
We happen to be working on this project, and I know that our client is starting to move forward with this project. So it's a little bit further behind than Tara Phase 2, but it is coming to a theater near you.
Well, so I butt up to that. So I'm this, I don't know what lot number that is, but I'm this left one on the, like one over, put your mouse one over to the left. I'm that house right there.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, thank you.
So there will be open space right here as well. So
okay.
You know.
So what are the projections on the Jonesville Business Park and the vacant farmlands? So what you're saying is, in the meantime, until there's a feeder road on either side, we're going to be funneling 160 units. I think they're between the two, Terra Greens 1 and 2, between going out of Strawberry Fields and Arbor Greens.
That's correct. Those will be the two main connections currently. That's correct.
So 160 homes.
Well,
Well, by the time 160 of them are built, I'm sure you'll have the other connections available. So, and I think it'll be, you know, dispersed pretty evenly. And I would say unless you were in Terra Greens Phase 1 going north, that would be when you might consider using the Strawberry Fields. Now, we don't know anything about any development plans for anything up here. This is not property that we own or are part of or anything. And so it's just that you look at, just like when your property was developed and, you know, Arbor Greens was developed and this, you know, we have to plan that in the future, this, you know, It is inside the urban services line. Infrastructure is available. I mean, this is the locations where development is supposed to occur in Alachua County. So we have to anticipate that there would be something here. And in the future, if that happens, it'll probably be more convenient if you're going north to go up this way. But again, that is the future. And you're right, until some of those other connections occur, those are the only two connections right now.
So did H.A. Fisher pass away? Is that how y'all ended up purchasing the land?
I really don't know. I wasn't involved. Unfortunately, we're the engineers, but I wasn't involved in the
Okay.
contractual negotiations of that.
Because the Fishers own all of that land, and I believe is one of the descendants was H.A. Fisher, and he passed away, and his wife, I guess, ended up selling it. And the other vacant farmlands above are owned by the Fishers as well. I guess there maybe some of the other children. So, and I guess probably until they pass away, they probably won't sell either.
Right, right. We have no plans. There's nothing on the drawing board or anything to do anything more up here. But it's beautiful property. I mean, it certainly could happen. And I think, you know, the county has policies in the comprehensive plan that encourage connectivity. Not only encourage it, require it. And so the ability to disperse, you know, roadway traffic is a very important part of our comprehensive plan. For example, you live down here in 70, and let's say you wanted to go to Publix. I mean, ultimately, you'll be able to come here and go right down to Publix as opposed to having to go onto 143rd Street. So there's advantages in a lot of different ways. Also,
Right.
you know, also if you wanted to go, not that you would do this, but in the future, I understand there's going to be a light down here. So, you know, there might be an opportunity for you to come through here as well. Or let's not just talk about Tara Greens, but someone from Arbor Greens could come this way to go north. So it is about everybody having options when it comes to mobility. And that's why we have the connectivity rules that we have and the requirements for that. It just makes sense for people to have those opportunities, and it takes a strain off of the major roads when you can do some trips without having to put everybody onto Newberry Road or 143rd Street.
So have you heard any proposals on when they're going to start the Jonesville Business Park? Is that anything that's in the works coming up, or is it
Yeah.
just like in the books?
Well,
And to echo what he just said, with the Jonesville Business Park, you mentioned originally it was supposed to be more businesses, and then it's leaning a little bit more towards residential and some other things. Do you know, were they planning on doing more like restaurants or what else was people were talking about for that space?
So the plan currently is for some residential units in this location over here, some multifamily residential in this location here, and an assisted living facility, a senior care center in this area over here. There is still the opportunity to have a restaurant or something like that. You could do some very light commercial in here, but it's gone more away from commercial to residential. And there's still commercial opportunities available down here at the shopping center. So the market is leaning more towards the residential in this location. But no, there is no current plan for offices and commercial retail in the Jonesville Business Park. And that zoning was just approved several months ago. So in answer to the original question about when do we think that's moving forward, we have been in talks with the owner. And I think all they're doing right now is just waiting for this COVID-19 stuff to kind of settle down a little bit. So yeah, they're kind of waiting. The people that own this property are the same folks that own the Tioga Town Center. And so they are wanting to do something
Yeah, I've heard that.
similar to, you know, in terms of, you know, quality and such as what they have in Tioga. I think it's going to be a fantastic development, but they're kind of poised, but waiting a little bit, to be honest with you, to see how things, how things work out here over the next couple of months. So I would say it's not actively moving forward at this moment, but it is kind of ready to.
How many acres is that property? I'm just curious. The farm.
There's about 60 acres of undeveloped property remaining.
Okay.
There. And some of it, of course, is going to be stormwater and open space and recreation and, some of those things. But
could you show that proposed layout one more time? This is David again.
Sure.
My wife, she wasn't here when you showed it the first time, so I wanted her to be able to see it.
Sure. Let me just reduce it down. Here you go. So yeah, it's this is Strawberry Fields. I'm sure this is Mrs. Law then, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Allison.
Allison. So Allison, I think your property is probably right about here, right in this area right here.
Okay.
So I missed it. Did you guys say that some of the trees are gonna stay? Sorry. Oh, he can fill me in, never mind.
No, that's okay. I mean, it's quite all right. We've seen quite a few people pop in and out of the meeting. Zoom has a new feature now that when somebody joins, you have to, due to privacy concerns, you have to admit them. So it's no problem that, people have popped in here. We have gone through it, and there has been certainly a lot said about saving trees on this, western property area over here.
Mhm.
If you look at this particular layout, we show the stormwater basin kind of encroaching pretty far on this side. It's open here and here, but right at the end of this road, there has to be a little turnaround. So it gets a little tight in here. And one of the things that drives this is the location of this existing connection through here that has to remain, so we can't move much further that way. But we do have an open space here and and through here. And we know there's a couple of big trees in this area right in here that we're going to probably rework this a little bit to make sure we can save those trees. So we do definitely anticipate saving some trees along this west property line for sure, and hopefully saving a good amount.
Can you explain why you have to have that turnaround?
Well, whenever you have a dead end, it's just very difficult to, someone comes down this road to go to these units and they want to turn around. It's usually required for like the garbage truck or an emergency vehicle or something like that. That it's not quite good enough just to pull into somebody's driveway.
Because the driveway would be sufficient. They would pull into their driveway and then back out to get out and back
Right.
out of the road.
Right, for a passenger car, yes, it would, but for, a commercial vehicle and things like that, it needs a little bit more room. We also talked about the fact that we would make sure we worked with this adjacent property owner on fencing here in this location that was high enough that there would be no headlights or, anything like that that would be seen through here.
Right, that was David. So could you not make that a cul-de-sac as opposed to doing an extender road?
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I was gonna ask.
It gets difficult to do that. You can imagine a cul-de-sac is a little bit bigger and it would eliminate quite a few units there. I think I mentioned previously, and you weren't here, Ms. Law, but we talked about the fact that we are looking at other layout options. And we have some design work to do in order to finalize this, but to the extent that we can, if we are to look at some other options, then, we would try to free up some more space over here to save some more trees. I don't think that it'll be a cul-de-sac down here, but there is some other options that we're looking at of, configuring some units. Some units could be moved over here and stormwater could be scooted over and have a couple less units here and some over here. There's just various different configurations that we can still play with that we might be able to do. And I mentioned also earlier, and some people weren't here, that we are we really need to meet with the county about the trees. And they can't meet with us right now. They're on restrictions. So, and the county has been very forthright with us and letting us know this, and we've been communicating with them. And I'm sure they would like to get out here, but they're just not allowed to right now. So as soon as they can, we're ready to meet with them, kind of identify the better trees, find out a little bit more about the trees over in this area. And then we'll be able to, develop our plans from there. So that is kind of one of the things that's pending. We really have to get that information to finalize this. But generally, we wanted to point out where we are with the layout currently at this stage.
So can I make a suggestion that you either eliminate that 8-unit building that backs up to David Law's and Sharon Bush's property, or make it like a 4-unit building to where you can make a cul-de-sac?
We'll take it under advisement. I mean, we're going to design a development that conforms to the land development regulations and the codes of Alachua County. And we're going to try everything we can to meet any reasonable concerns of our neighbors. But I can tell you that the owner is not going to be willing to do something that's going to reduce his density substantially. Property is just too expensive.
Money out of his pocket.
It is a big risk to do a project like this. And I know everybody's not involved in this and, totally understands those things. But even when you're thinking about what we're going through now, all I can tell you is that we totally hear your concerns.
I think we just lost your audio.
Oh, it's interesting. My purse is in.
Could they move that? Like somehow move that around?
I can hear you, Jen.
Oh, can you?
I can hear all of you, but I can't hear
Yeah.
him anymore.
I know. I wonder, like, the road in the first phase is so narrow. Like, I'm just trying to imagine all these cars coming through these really narrow roads.
Yeah, that's for sure.
This road looks like possibly it's wider, I guess. I don't know how to read this stuff.
Well, I wouldn't think it would be much different because it's the same design. So, but maybe it will.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
The roads are to code, someone just said. Huh.
Did they talk about speed bumps at all?
No, they didn't. That's a good question.
But they
Yeah.
have some in the phase 1.
What, John?
They have them in phase 1.
Speed bumps?
Yes.
Oh,
Well, I don't think that's an actual speed bump there, Dawn. That one that's connects our neighborhood. I think that's going to be filled in once they get finished there. I'm not sure.
No, it's a speed bump.
Is it?
We've got cars moving through.
Right. Well, we'll see. I hope you're right.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
No.
maybe he was
No
tired of us
audio.
asking so many questions.
He said no audio.
They have no audio, but they can hear us.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait,
what
can
was
they
the
hear us? Can you guys hear us? Oh,
Oh, maybe not.
either that or they're really good at ignoring us.
Right?
Uh,
Oh, we somehow lost our audio. Yes. Yes. We did not lose ours, though.
Anybody know sign language?
I can read lips a little bit.
Oh, we're out.
No, we're still in.
Hello?
There you
Hello?
are.
Yeah.
Can anybody hear us?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shows that we're
sound is being recorded right now.
Oh, we're back.
When we talk, I think they're here, they can hear us now, maybe.
Is anybody on?
We just can't hear
Yes.
you.
I
Yes.
can't see you.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Basically, our portable audio, I think I have an idea right now. To figure out, Steve, can grab that really quick, get stop screen share and stuff is I'm gonna do what I do at home. Into audio, which is the TV. I'm trying to figure out which one's the TV part. Can anybody hear us now? Somebody speak.
Yes.
Yes.
And here we got no sound. Crazy.
Maybe if I unplug
Oh,
this.
you turned off our video?
I mean, I just stopped the sharing.
No, but our video got turned
Oh.
off too.
I didn't do that. I just stopped the sharing.
Guys, we can't hear anybody. Is
Oh, you can't hear us?
unbelievable. Jerry's talking now.
Yeah, we can't hear anything at all. Yeah, it says we can hear you all, it says.
We can all hear each other, but not you. Okay.
I can hear you too.
Audio, but no present. We can
You hear the bird saying, "Do not chop down my trees."
Oh, yes. That's my bird and he's yelling.
Don't chop down my trees.
Are you gonna be ready to eat in a few minutes?
Yeah, I'm ready to eat, Allison.
I'm sorry. My bad.
What are you guys having?
Chicken tacos?
Yum.
Chosen.
Can you all hear us now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God, our whole speaker system went down for some crazy reason.
That's okay.
We
At
had
least
to-
we didn't get Zoom bombed.
we had
It's
to-
the coronavirus.
It's a virus.
Yeah, it's the coronavirus. I'm sorry about that, guys.
That's okay.
Also, this meeting has been recorded, so I would be able to have this available for somebody if they weren't able to be here, like if you had a friend that wasn't able to be here, so.
Okay.
Also, while I still have everybody on, could I also get an email address for David Law?
Yes. dslaw76@aol.com. So that's D as in David, S as in Sam, LAW76@aol.com.
Gotcha. Thank you.
No problem.
And Jerry, thanks for holding down the fort for us where our audio went out. I saw that you got on the chat and let everybody know. I guess you all could still hear yourselves.
Yes.
So do we have any more questions, guys? We certainly can stick around.
Will there be another meeting when things are looking more finalized, or is this the only information we'll be receiving?
Well, as we go through the process, there's all kinds of public hearings. There's development review committee hearings, and there'll be plenty of public opportunity to see what we're doing. But we're also happy to, coordinate with anybody. We have your email addresses. And you should have ours. We'll send out a link when we get this recorded video back, and we'll forward it to the people that we got email addresses for. And then you'll have our contact information, and we'll be happy to share with you our more updated plan as we move forward.
Okay,
We
awesome.
probably won't do another formal workshop advertised like this, but we'd be happy to, work with the adjacent neighbors and stuff and let you see what we're doing, and you can get involved in the process as well as we go through the development review process. But we'll be very open with what we're proposing to do.
Can we walk the tree lines with you when you walk it with the city or county?
I'm sure we can find a time to walk it with you. I'm just not sure what's going on when the county, that is more of a professional walk where we have a very specific duty in regard to that, and it'll probably be limited to our professionals, but we would be happy to also entertain a walk with the neighbors for sure.
That would be awesome.
Okay, so you're gonna get our email addresses. You can communicate with us and we will coordinate, to the extent feasible. We need to get that with the county, and really what they're doing is the landscape architect is, walking with the urban forester and trying to figure out, what are the best trees and, those type of things. So as soon as we get that information, we'll know a little bit more, and that might inform our design a little bit more as well.
So I guess since the one road on the east side has already been started, there's no way to shift the buffer, share the buffer from the east to the west so that we're able to keep the trees in the back, because you decided to keep them on the Arbor Green side where the road, that's the east side, right?
Right. Well, we looked at that pretty carefully with the county. The thing is, if you look at, and we go back to this map, the opportunity exists for that open space. The Jonesville Business Park has open space designated here. And then if we designated this here, then there's the opportunity for this to continue all the way to the north. Whereas on this side, if open space continues, it runs into these single family residential and it kind of ends. So there's more of an opportunity for future connectivity to open space. And one of the things that is looked at with open space is the opportunity to have connected open space. And so it was decided that the tree function on the east side and the open space there has a better future opportunity for continuity, and it's already designated that way for the property to the south. So it was decided that that was the location for that. It still doesn't mean that we're not going to save some trees on the west side also. It's just that that is the location where the 10% designated open space per comp plan is going to be set aside. For example, when Strawberry Fields was done, you didn't have to meet that criteria. There was no 10% open space set aside when Strawberry Fields was done. But the new comprehensive plan requires that. And so we have to set aside an area that is completely undeveloped on the property. And it can't have stormwater in it or utilities in it or anything like that. It's just a complete open area that's, available for just passive recreation. You can have walking trails and things like that through it. So that's what our open space will be.
Okay.
East side. And the reality is there's residential units on that side too. So it doesn't matter which side you go on, it's one would have a little more impact than the other. And unfortunately, on this side, it is more up to you guys that, the open space has been set aside on the east side as opposed to the west side. But we looked at that carefully and considered both. Any more questions?
I think we're good.
Anybody else out there that hasn't had anything to say yet? All righty. Well, thank you all very much. Please, in your notice that you got, you've seen our email address. It usually takes a little while for Zoom to get these recorded videos off the cloud and to us. But when we do get them, we'll send them out to everybody. We got email addresses. And if you want some other email addresses, feel free to send them to me. It's jay.brown@jbprogroup.com. And that's on the flyer that was mailed to you as well. But you'll be getting something from us in the near future as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting now. Thank you for your patience, everybody.